Welcome to PlayChat Podcast.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Sam.
We are two friends from high school who met for coffee and somehow we ended up here.
We'll be talking about theater, movies, music, and so much more.
You're listening to PlayChat.
Hey everybody!
Hello, welcome to episode 2.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of PlayChat. We're so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We're just going to do some quick introductions in case we have any new listeners. So I'm Sam Griffin. I am originally from Derry, New Hampshire. I am a junior at Columbia College Chicago in the musical theater BFA, musical theater performance program. I am currently obsessed with milk chocolate covered pretzels, especially the Trader Joe's ones. I am always obsessed. I'm always obsessed with airy sports bras.
Period.
Yeah. And
Fair.
I can't live without... Okay, this is a weird one. I kind of can't live without sticky notes. I always have sticky notes.
Fair. That's really fair.
I have like three sticky notes going on right now.
I actually totally feel that because I, for like 3 days at school, didn't have sticky notes. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I need to write this down. I can't. I'm freaking out. Okay, those are good answers. Anyways, I'm Emma Cahoon. I am from Manchester, New Hampshire, which is where I am right now. But I am a second-year student at Boston University in the School of Theater, pursuing a BFA in theater arts. And I am currently obsessed with Trader Joe's, like obsessed. If you have interacted with me in person lately, you would probably know that I am freaking out about Trader Joe's all the time. I'm always obsessed with like anything fall. Like I love fall, and I'm so excited that all of the autumnal stuff is coming back places. And I cannot live without last week I said caffeine. This week I'm gonna say sleep. Enough sleep. I really can't live without enough sleep, which is like, scientifically nobody can.
Yeah.
But I like really, I'm feeling a little bit like I needed to get more sleep last night right now.
Have you heard about the Trader Joe's seasonal fall candles?
Of course I have.
I have 3 of the Honeycrisp apple candles. It's 3 because I love them that much.
I actually have never used one. I've like smelled them in the store, but I've never used one.
It's incredible. I feel like I'm at an apple orchard.
I really definitely will have to.
Yeah.
Anyways, also for those of you who are new here, we do an icebreaker question every week, and we answer it. And we also love for you to answer it on any of our social media platforms. So this week's icebreaker question is, if you could watch any movie for the first time again, so experience it all over again for the first time, what movie would it be? Sam?
I think mine has to be Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2.
I was going to say Harry Potter.
Because I think I was old enough by the time the last few Harry Potters were coming out that I saw them in theaters.
Me too. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I have such a distinct memory of seeing Deathly Hallows Part 2 in theaters.
Yeah.
And I had read the books, so I knew what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like life-changing seeing that movie. And it was like the end of such an era,
Such an era, like so much catharsis. It was insane.
So I remember that vividly too. I'd love to see Deathly Hallows Part 2 for the first time.
Yes. I was going to say that, okay, so I would be really hard pressed to pick like which Harry Potter I would want to see for the first time again, but probably like one of the later ones, maybe even like the 6th one.
Oh, sure.
Especially, what's it called? The Half-Blood Prince. Especially now that I am like a little older, because when that came out, I was probably like somewhere between like 10 and 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember it because like they started to get scary, like the 4th one through the end. They are a little bit more they get a little scarier. And so I remember being like really scared watching it, but now like, I'm not scared of it anymore. And I think I would like take joy in some of the moments of like jump scares or like
Yeah.
more intense moments. So I would love to probably that one. And then obviously like I won't spoil it for the those of you who are maybe new to the Harry Potter fandom, but the sixth one ends with a rather major plot point.
Emma, I hate to break it to you. That movie came out in 2008. So you were like 6 or 7.
Holy shit.
I
know. Wait, what?
No, sorry, 2009. Sorry. I was thinking because I was 8.
2009, so I was.
You were like, oh, I didn't look. I just Wikipedia'd it really fast.
I was 6 or 7. I was 6 or 7. Okay, that's crazy. I thought I was older than that.
2009. Let me look. It came out in July of 2009.
Okay, yeah.
I was 7.
That's insane. Wait, that is my concept of time is now completely destroyed.
I know.
That is insane.
That's crazy.
So no wonder I was.
So I must not have seen that one in theaters.
I remember. No, I vividly remember. My dad and I bought it on DVD as we were buying. We like bought a new TV, and we were like, "What are we gonna watch on this new TV?" Well, the 6th Harry Potter just came out on DVD, and we like brought it home and we watched it, and it was like I think it was like one of the first like flat screen TVs, if you will, that we owned. So it was like such a big deal, or it was just like bigger than the ones that we owned before, and so it was like so exciting. And I remember I have a vivid memory of my dad like jumping at one moment, like jumping and like shit, like. He had like a shiver like jump scare, and it like scared me, and then I laughed super hard, and I will remember that for a very long time. But anyways, so I guess we have the same answer pretty much.
Yeah, Harry Potter. This is kind of similar, but I remember when there were like special DVD players that had like Blu-ray on them where the DVD quality was better, and we got some movies from my grandparents, and they were Blu-ray, and they didn't have Blu-ray, so they couldn't watch them, but we didn't have Blu-ray either. And I very distinctly remember we finally got a DVD player that did Blu-ray, and I was like, whoa, this is so fancy. And it looked exactly the same. It looked exactly the same.
I don't get Blu-ray. I don't understand it. We should have like some kind of like computer science person come on the podcast and explain Blu-ray
explain
to me,
what Blu-ray is to us.
I don't get it.
Oh gosh.
I don't understand.
All right, everyone. Let's talk about today's episode. It's episode 2. Today, as always, Emma and I are going to have our short segments, which were voted on this week on our Instagram polls. So we're going to be doing our short segments, and then we have a special guest on today. We have the absolutely amazing Heidi Krantz on with us today.
Yeah, Heidi.
So make sure to stick around for Heidi's interview. And then Heidi also stayed with us to do a original reading of one of Emma's plays.
Yeah.
So we're going to read a scene from one of Emma's shows, one of Emma's work today, some of her work. So that's super exciting. So make sure you stick around for that.
Period.
But yeah, so that's kind of what our episode's gonna look like today.
And also, we might as well plug it now. When the day that you are listening to this, the day that this episode airs, is Heidi's birthday.
Yes.
So go pop over to our social media and say
happy birthday to
Heidi. Happy 20th birthday, Heidi.
Happy 20th. All right. I know last episode I made you go first, so I think this episode I will go first.
I'm so excited, guys. Last week we told each other what our what the subjects of our conversations were going to be in advance, but neither of us know what.
Neither of us know this time.
So I'm really excited.
So we tied on our poll again. We did. Was it your answers tied, or did we tie for the top thing again?
Oh no, my answers tied.
That's what it was. There was a tie involved. Anyway, so my top voted thing this week was a movie reaction / review.
It was actually it was
resounding movie review.
It was quite a lead.
I know. I guess people like hearing me talk about TV and cinema. So
I'm so excited to hear.
Wait, I didn't even realize this, but it also is another Netflix thing.
Yes, thank God.
All right.
Cinematic.
Apparently Netflix just like needs to pay me to promote all their
Period.
things because that's what I'm doing.
Agreed. Sponsor
If anyone
us.
wants to give us a sponsorship deal, Netflix, Trader Joe's,
Literally sponsor me,
Aerie,
Trader Joe's, please.
like give us
I will
a
become a Trader
sponsorship.
Joe's ambassador. Okay, anyways.
Sorry.
What did you review?
Mine is a movie review. So I decided that I would review the special by Bo Burnham called Inside.
Oh my god, wait, I'm so excited.
I know.
I was just talking about Inside this morning because I haven't seen it because I asked my parents to watch it with me again and they said no and they wouldn't watch it with me. And so I waited, and then one of our friends, a playwright who my parents are working with right now, moved into our house, and one of the first nights he was there, they watched Inside together.
Without you?
Without me.
No way!
So I've never seen it. But
Matt and Carrie, I'm disappointed.
I know. But if you're like, I'm on TikTok, so I'm familiar with a lot of the content. But
know a lot of the
anyways,
songs.
I want to hear your thoughts. I'm so excited.
So I'd never seen Inside until I just watched it, and I just watched it last night. So the thoughts are fresh.
Sure.
Obviously I'd heard a lot of the songs on TikTok, but I had never actually watched it. So for anyone that doesn't know, Inside is a project that this comedian Bo Burnham worked on during quarantine. He wrote it, filmed it, edited it, did everything for it by himself in his apartment.
Period.
And he released it on Netflix earlier this year. He worked on it for over a year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of this piece about isolation, but then also about like trying. It's a lot about mental health as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it wasn't really what I thought it would be. The songs that I'd heard, I knew there were some moments that were going to be a little like deeper and sadder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I overall expected it to be a comedy because I was like, Bo Burnham's a comedian.
He's known as a comedian, right?
And there were very few times that I found myself in like intentionally like, okay, let me rephrase. The things that were supposed to be funny were very funny.
Yeah.
But there were not a lot of moments of comedy within the piece, which I was surprised about. It was very much very serious, and I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
His opening song, or one of his opening songs, is talking about like, should I really be joking at a time like this?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like totally setting the tone for the whole piece.
Talk about a good opening.
I know. So I just have a few things I wanted to mention. So yeah, it was a quarantine project. One of the things that really drew me in, other than the music, was the visuals that he was able to create using a projector, using a single spotlight that he had. It was really, really intriguing. So I'll take some screenshots of my favorite moments and post those around so you guys can see. But the visuals were just absolutely insane. And then of course the music was stunning. I wrote down some of my favorite songs. My top favorite song has to be That Funny Feeling, which is kind of a song about, Christine and I were talking about it. Christine's our editor, right before we started recording. And it's kind of a song about like when you get that kind of like feeling in like the pit of your stomach and you don't know what to do with it, so you kind of try to like not think about it, and try to like go ahead without thinking about whatever's making you feel uneasy. And that's kind of what that song's about. And I feel like a lot of people have experienced feelings like that in their lives, but especially over 2020.
Yeah. And I just to like jump in quickly, I really love the TikTok trend where people like write their own version of that song.
Yes.
I think it's so beautiful. And I think it's, I love that song. And I think it's a great example of like kind of what I want to do with a lot of my work, which is like put words, or in his case words and a melody, to like a feeling that is indescribable. Like I think that that's so impressive, and I think that that's like, I think that there's almost something about Inside, especially like kind of that song that like took people by surprise based on like Bo Burnham's reputation.
Yes.
Again, like you said, like it was expected to be more of a comedy. But I think it's also, speaks to the value of like comedy or comedians like serving kind of a higher purpose, or like having, more emotional impact on people than people might think. But anyways, you keep
Yeah,
going.
so I
hear
just
more of
wanted to read some of my favorite lines from That Funny Feeling.
Yeah.
Obviously there are a lot, so I'm just gonna kind of jump through some of them. But just to give an idea, one of the lines, the live action Lion King, the Pepsi halftime show. 20,000 years of this, 7 more to go. Like, I just so that's one. Another line is a gift shop at the gun range, a mass shooting at the mall.
Oh,
And then
that gave me chills.
the unapparent summer air in early fall, the quiet comprehending of the ending of it all.
Jesus. Oh my
What?
God.
Like, I
Please.
don't know where in his brain these things come from,
I know, but it's so
but
brilliant.
I feel like I live there.
Yeah, no,
That makes any sense.
literally.
It's just crazy. Like, I feel like this song is all about the kind of stuff that you don't know how to put into words. Like the feeling where you're like, I don't really know how to explain how that makes me feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So I absolutely love that one. And then total different vibe. My other favorite is Welcome to the Internet.
Yeah.
Which
Welcome
was trending
to
all
the
over
Internet.
TikTok.
It's just a bop too.
Yeah. And it's the intro of that, or I guess it's the bridge maybe, where it talks about how like this generation especially has grown up with internet all around them. And like we're so disconnected because it did exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
Is one of the lines where the internet is always evolving and changing, and like it's doing what we wanted it to. Like it's giving us new ways to connect and all that kind of stuff, but it's also like it's endless. And one of the lines is, "Can I interest you in everything all of the time?" And it's so overwhelming sometimes.
It is so overwhelming.
And I just think it's crazy how he manages to like capture this stuff in words.
Yeah, I know.
But I love Welcome to the Internet. It has such a fun vibe to it.
I know. And part of like what I love too about like that part of that style too is like the effectiveness of that sarcasm.
Yes.
Which like that is also like it's funny. I'm glad that you chose this because as much as it's a movie, like it's music too.
Yes.
And so we kind of get to talk about that too. But like it's so like there's so much analysis that could be done moving past the language and just of the music, like
Absolutely.
the way that the music is written. And I think that that song in particular is so smart in the way that it's composed, and then when you add the language on top of it, the sarcasm is such, I feel like, becoming such a defining style of his work, and it's so effective. Like that line, for example, is like so effective and ironic, and pair it with the melody, and it's just so good.
It's kind of scary, like
it is
in the context.
It's like
a lot of, I feel like Bo Burnham's comedy style is actually like taking these things that you don't really think about and being like, wait, what? And I feel like with that song, and then also with Funny Feeling, they kind of made me uneasy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that, one, I think it's really amazing that Bo Burnham is, and this is the first thing of Bo Burnham's I've seen, so I don't really know how much of this he's done in the past, where he's kind of breaking away from what comedy is supposed to be.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of, in my acting classes, we've been talking a lot about how the point of art is to make your audience feel something, whether it's what you intended them to feel or not.
Right.
And I think Bo Burnham is doing a really interesting thing in terms of making our audience feel a certain way. And I feel like everyone obviously is going to feel different about it, but it's so crazy to me that he is able to inflict so much feeling about like uneasiness in what's supposed to be a comedy, like a comedy piece. But I really, really loved it. And then my last favorite song I had to talk about was White Woman's Instagram.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to post some visuals from this because he somehow managed to recreate pictures. I was watching with my
That
roommates
is
last
so
night,
funny.
and we were all dying laughing because all these visuals he's creating. I was like, I've seen that picture on like a million people's
Or
Instagrams.
I've taken that picture,
And
please.
it's like some of the poses he was doing, I was like, if I took that picture of myself, I'd be proud of it.
No, literally.
So
Oh
so
my
yeah,
God.
so that's my kind of my review of Inside by Bo and Burnham. It was so
Love
great.
it.
And it's a lot more than meets the eye, I think.
Yeah, and
It's definitely, I think you definitely have to be ready for a more serious piece of material. Like it's not something you can put on in the background
like,
and kind of like
"Ha."
laugh about.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you want to be fully invested and fully like connected to as you're watching it.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend it. I think it's a really interesting piece of theater because that's kind of what I see it as. And I've just loved seeing what kind of projects people are able to make out of what this past year has been.
Yes, I agree.
And he talks a lot about how much he struggled within the past year. And I think all of us have in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's,
I mean, that would be like a whole other podcast conversation.
I know,
like
seriously.
art that has come out of the pandemic. Like so much.
Yeah, but it was kind of cathartic in a way to see a piece that he was working on in like one of the hardest times of his life and to have it be like completed and like out there
and successful.
And hopefully and successful too. So yeah, I loved it. Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
If you ever stumble upon this podcast, I hope you're doing well.
Kisses.
Kisses. And keep making music and keep making specials.
For sure.
Because I'm gonna be watching them all from now. I have to go back and watch all his old things. But yeah, that was Inside by Bo Burnham. You can find it on Netflix.
I'm so glad you chose that.
It was a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Is it my turn? Yes, it is.
I believe so.
So, I am so excited because this week I'm doing a top 5. Yes. Okay. So, I have been so excited about doing a top 5 because I have a note in my phone. I'm really big into like making lists of things, and I have a note in my phone just of like a bunch of different lists of things, like top 5s or like longer list of things that I can pull top 5s from.
Sure.
So I was really excited about this, and I was really jealous that Sam got to do it, but I love doing my play review last weekend. So I tied for a play review and a top 5, and since I did a play review last time, I'm gonna do a top 5 this time.
Yes.
And I literally have I had so many options for what I wanted to talk about. Yeah. But I decided that I'm going to dive into the nuance here because that's really what I love. And this is
so
list
excited.
that came to me a little while ago, and I'm excited to flesh all of these out here. So my top 5 is moments in TV or film without dialogue that are more powerful silent than they would be with words. So that's
my God, Emma.
I have 5.
I can't wait.
5 film moments and 2 kind of like honorable mentions.
Sure.
I am so excited to talk about. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So similarly to Sam, I kind of had qualifications for this list. And I will say that these are not ranked. I do not have these like in a particular order. But it had to be like a moment more than like, like longer than like a minute. Like it had to be like its own, could be defined as its own like scene or like, beat of something, in which there's no dialogue. And that means not a monologue. There's no text on top of it. So let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
Where do I want to begin? Okay, well, I guess I'll start with how this list came to me.
Sure.
2 moments that kind of like inspired me to think of other moments like this one and to start this list. Some examples. Well, so I'll start with this one. of course, if you listened to the last week's episode, you would know that I am obsessed with Greta Gerwig. So two of these moments are in fact Greta Gerwig moments.
Love that.
One of which is one of the final scenes of Lady Bird.
Right.
When basically what happens is Laurie Metcalf, who plays Marianne, I think is her name.
Yes.
Marianne McPherson, who is Lady Bird's mom, drives away from the airport. And I don't want to give away too much of the plot in case you haven't seen it, but she drives away from the airport, and she's driving in her car, and she's driving around like the loop of the airport, and there's nobody else in the car with her. She's in the car alone. But basically, what you see happen over the course of like the few minutes is she drives away from the airport, and she's kind of like angry. She's kind of kind of angry, and she's driving away, and then she starts to cry, and then she's crying, and it becomes this like frantic kind of like she's turning around and she's trying to get back to the airport on time, but the only shot, like you only see her face, so it's just one shot of her face, and there's music but there's no text, and she is like turning the wheel, and she's trying to get back to the airport, and it is like, oh my god, it makes me weep every time. It makes me weep, and there's no text, and there's nothing else going on but her on screen in that moment. But the directing of that moment, the way that it's shot, and then the performance, Laurie Metcalf,
she's incredible.
Oh my god. And so I was thinking about that moment. So that's one moment where that's all that's going on screen. There's no text, there's no dialogue, it's just one character. And that led me to think about another Greta Gerwig film, absolutely obsessed with, Little Women 2019.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think we've ever talked about it, but Sam and I were in a production of Little Women together.
We were.
We were Meg and Amy, which is like the basis of a lot of our friendship.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So Little Women, for many reasons, is very near and dear to my heart. And I very recently went through a week where I watched Little Women 2019 like 4 times, and then the next week I watched Lady Bird 3 times.
Yeah,
which is how this list kind of came to be. But an example of moment without dialogue in Little Women that is gut wrenching is how they deliver the news essentially of Beth's death in that film. So there's a lot of paralleling in that movie. There's a lot of like transitions and paralleling between, because it's not a linear timeline, which is one of my fucking favorite things ever, which I've spoken about.
We
but
love
I
non-linear timelines here.
Non-linear timeline, and so there's a lot of parallels going back and forth that you're finding between the two kind of timelines going on at the same time. And basically how they do that scene is they do the Christmas when Joe wakes up and goes downstairs and everybody's celebrating, and it's like a very bright, happy Christmas scene. And then Mr. March comes home from war and they're all so happy. And it's like a beautiful moment. It's literally bright. Like the saturation on the shot is like up high, and there's music and it's beautiful and it's bright. And then the scene restarts exactly the same way, where you see Saoirse Ronan's eyes. And she opens her eyes, and there's now a cool filter over the whole thing. And she gets up, and it goes exactly the same way that it did before, which is that Beth isn't in bed and she runs down the stairs. But this time she's running down the stairs, and there's like a sense of she knows what has happened. And she runs. She doesn't really run. She like kind of like slowly walks and then picks up her pace a little bit. And gets downstairs, and she gets to the kitchen where Laura Dern is facing the wall, so you only see Laura Dern's back. And Laura Dern plays Marmee. Also, Laura Dern, I love her.
Oh my god.
She turns around and she's crying, and there's this moment, and they just look at each other, and then Saoirse Ronan walks over to her, and she like puts her hands on her shoulders, and then Laura Dern just like melts, and she sobs, and she puts her head into Saoirse Ronan's stomach, and then they just stand there hugging, and it is
I
Oh
got
my
chills
God.
just hearing you retell that scene.
It's so heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
part of that moment is like the contrast, switching
Mm.
from like all the noise and the color and the brightness and like the witty banter that they always kind of have with each
Right.
other, to like the stark, quick turnaround,
Mm.
to just, oh my God, it's so beautiful. So that is another moment without dialogue that I love. Next one. So now I've done two. Number three is I'll do another movie. I'll do my movies first. The next one is from a holiday favorite of mine.
Ooh.
Love Actually, Hugh Grant film.
Oh.
Hugh Grant films are a guilty pleasure of mine. Also my dad's. If you know my dad, ask him about Hugh Grant movies. He
I
loves
need
them.
to text your dad and ask him about Hugh Grant movies.
He really does. I'm sure we'll talk about that another time. But so Love Actually, I love Love Actually. Basically Love Actually has a bunch of different plot lines going on, and they're all connected by like people who know each other through like weird relationships or like whatever. There's a bunch of different storylines going on. One of the storylines is one of the best on-screen couples of all time, Emma Thompson and Alan Rickman.
Oh, I knew you were. I already know what you're going to talk about.
Holy shit. That yeah, I'm sure you do. That on-screen couple,
so great,
is so fucking powerful. I could literally just watch, like, if you pulled their scenes out of Love Actually and just compressed them together into like, yeah, I could. Oh my God. But essentially, Alan Rickman is, I feel less bad about like quote unquote spoiling Love Actually because it's been out for a long time. Forever. So like, essentially, Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson are a married couple. They have 2 children. We are under the impression that they've been married for quite a long time and that these are their children that they share.
Right.
Who are both like, I think they're like 8 to 12 era, 8 to 12 moment. So they've been together for a while. This is like an established marriage. It's Christmas time, and essentially Alan Rickman starts having a bit of a flirty affair with his new like secretary or somebody who works in his office.
Yeah.
And she's kind of this like younger beautiful woman. And there's a bit of a flirty thing going on with them. You never like see fully that they have an affair, but essentially he ends up they go Christmas shopping because again it's the holidays, and he buys in this brilliant scene with oh my God, what's that guy's name? Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean.
What's his name? It's Rowan Atkinson. He has this brilliant scene with Rowan Atkinson where he buys a necklace, and he's buying it for the receptionist, but then Emma Thompson sees the necklace. She like opens it and peeks at it, and she thinks it's for her, or she maybe hopes it's for her. And then on Christmas Eve, they all get to open one present, and she picks up the present that she thinks is the necklace, and it is not a necklace. It's a Joni Mitchell CD, which confirms for her concerns that that he was maybe seeing somebody else or had something going on. And this is the moment. So the children are laughing. They're like, she's like, me, it's my turn. She opens it and she's like, oh my God, I love Joni Mitchell. Tries to like play it off, whatever.
Yeah.
And then she leaves the room and she goes into their bedroom, and the shot is she's standing on the right of the screen, and then it's the bed, and then there's a little CD player, and she walks and she puts the DVD or the CD in the CD player, and then she stands on the side of the bed and she listens to Joni Mitchell and just like cries, and she like bends herself over the bed, and she's like holding herself up for a second.
I knew that was the moment you were going to talk about.
And then she like smooths out the comforter, and Joni Mitchell is playing the whole time. So it's like this moment where she's not like breaking down. She's trying to hold herself together. She goes into the bedroom. She's like she's smoothing things out. She's trying to hold herself up, and she like pulls herself together. And then she just goes back out and continues with life. And it's
it's
oh my God, it
good.
makes my mom weep every time. Like if you mention that moment to my mom, her face will turn red and her eyes will fill with tears. Like, it is such a beautiful moment. And again, I think also like a theme in all of these moments that I've chosen are just fucking kick-ass female actors. I've had Laurie Metcalf, Laura Dern, Saoirse Ronan, and Emma Thompson in this list, which is like, oh my God.
I know.
But yeah, so those were my 3 major movie moments. The last 2 moments without dialogue that I have are from TV shows.
Okay.
One of which, where do I want to start? I'll start with, okay. One of which is from one of my all-time favorite TV shows, major comfort show of mine, lots of nostalgia, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer so much. It came out while my parents were in college and they watched it together, and then they bought all 7 seasons on box set. They bought the DVDs of all 7 seasons, and I was much too young to start watching it with them, but they wanted to rewatch it and they didn't care.
And you were there.
I watched it. And I was there and I watched it with them. And my parents always joke about how Buffy the Vampire Slayer is how I learned about lesbians, which is true. It is. And anyways, I'm also going to spoil a little bit of Buffy. Sorry, but it's old. Buffy the Vampire Slayer it's exactly what it sounds like. It's about this girl who is a vampire slayer and her name is Buffy. And she like fights demons, bad guys. She has her friends, and like her watcher, who's like her mentor person, and they fight demons, and she gets in relationships. It's like a high school drama, but also she's a vampire slayer. But it's also not really for teens, it's more for adults. Anyways, very, very, very good show. Cultural reset, I would argue. But essentially, in the 5th season, I think it's the 5th season, yes. Her mother dies in this.
Oh, I knew that's what you were gonna say.
This absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode of television called The Body, which is one of the most incredible. It's one of the most incredible hours of television that has ever been made. Unlike the rest of the show, the entire episode happens in silence. There's without a soundtrack. There's dialogue, but there's no soundtrack. And there's a moment, basically the episode starts where she walks in to her house and she's talking to her mom. She's like, "Hey mom, I'm home. Do you want me to go pick up Dawn from school?" Blah, 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 blah. She's like yelling into the house, and then she turns and she sees her mother's body. And there's, it's a monologue, one could say, because there's text, and I could talk about that moment too when she's repeating the same word over and over again. She's saying mom, mom, mommy, mom, but like the emotion is changing every time she says the word. It's like such a fascinating acting study. But essentially she calls the paramedics, and after she calls the paramedics is the moment she hangs up, she stands up, she walks out of the room, and it's like she's walking super slowly. Like there's a lot of weight in this walk. And then she just falls to the floor and vomits and she pukes. And then she gets up and she walks into the kitchen and she opens the back door and stands at the back door and stares out the window for like longer than you keep thinking it's going to happen. It's probably not a full minute, but it's maybe 30 seconds. She's like standing and staring out the window, and you just look at her face, like the color is gone, but it's like such a beautiful day outside. And then she like has this moment, and it's like a frozen in time moment. And then she walks back into the kitchen, grabs a paper towel, and just cleans up the mess that she just made. And it's
oh my God.
It's like the most insane. It's the most insane because I also love a downward climax in something. Like I love when people think about like an acting climax a lot, they think like up, explosion. But this is like a, oh my God, crash. And it's just this moment of like stillness and nothingness and just like almost normalcy. Like her impulse in that moment is to clean up the mess she made. And then it's boom, right back into the episode. Giles shows up, they're freaking out, like, and it's mind-boggling. Also a moment of incredible directing, brilliant writing, that whole episode. I could talk about that episode forever, but it is amazing. But I'm going to move on to my last moment without dialogue, which is one I hold very near and dear to my heart. And Sam, I'm sure you can contribute to this one. One of the best, just most heartwarming and bittersweet moments without dialogue that I just love is season 7, episode like 22 or something like that of The Office. Goodbye, Michael.
I knew it as soon as you said the season.
Goodbye, Michael. It is Steve Carell's last episode on The Office, and it's Goodbye, Michael. He has a moment with every character where they kind of say their goodbyes to him. There's a group moment where everybody says goodbye, but the major conflict of the episode is that Pam, played by Jenna Fisher, is not there. And Pam is so special to Michael. For a long time, Pam was Michael's receptionist, so like they worked the closest together. And so the major conflict of the episode is that Michael is leaving and nobody knows that it's officially his last day, and so Pam is not there. And he's trying to prolong the moment to say goodbye to her, but then he runs out of time and he has to go to the airport. And then there's this moment where he, first of all, like, again, could talk about this forever, but the breaking of the fourth wall, essentially, when he removes his microphone and hands it to the people holding the camera, which was like already a mind-blowing moment. He hands it to the people behind the camera, and then you can't hear him anymore, obviously, because he's not mic'd, or he's kind of muffled while he's still close to the camera. But then he walks away, and then like he's walking away, and it's the shot of him walking into the airport, and then Jenna Fisher's character runs out, and she doesn't have her mic on, and she's holding her shoes because she had to get through security. So she's just in her bare stocking feet and holding her shoes. And she runs through the airport and she runs up to him and they have this big bear hug, and he whispers something in her ear, but you can't hear what it is because neither of them are wearing their microphones. And it's this beautiful, bittersweet goodbye moment. It's a really intimate moment, even though you don't know what they're saying to each other. It's like one of the most, probably if not the most, like intimate and personal moments in their relationship. And like you feel that as an audience member, but you don't know exactly what they are sharing. And it's a beautiful, beautiful moment, a great example of such a brilliant use of taking away of sound. And getting, a moment without text. So those were 5 moments without text.
Yeah, Jenna Fisher has talked about that moment, and it turns out Steve Carell actually broke character and was talking to her as Steve in that moment.
Yes, that's what I was telling her as well.
How proud he was of her.
That's what I have heard.
And I'm just like, that kills me.
I know, which is
it
so
kills me.
Just, I know.
But yeah, thank you, Emma. 5 moments without text.
5 moments without text. Top 5 moments for me without text.
Amazing.
Love it. Period. Well, I think the next segment of our episode is to play you our little conversation with Heidi. So here that is. Christine, roll the tapes.
Roll the tapes.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I don't know what you've heard so far, but we're here with Heidi Krantz. Heidi, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Heidi. Heidi is our very first guest star here on PlayChat. Heidi, why don't you just take a second, introduce yourself, let us know your pronouns, what you've been up to, and then we'll start asking you some get to know you questions.
All right. Awesome. So my name is Heidi Krantz. I am from Derry, and I have been doing theater for some time. It's been a little over 10 years now, which feels crazy about. Yeah. Since graduating high school, I've spent time traveling and doing national service through AmeriCorps, and just helping other communities out, and doing theater on the side while trying to work full time.
Period.
Awesome. All right, Heidi, here are your questions. Please list for us something you are currently obsessed with, something you're always obsessed with, and something you can't live without.
Okay. So something I'm currently obsessed with is Rocky Horror. Absolutely hooked on that again. Something I'm always obsessed with. loaded mashed potatoes from Applebee's.
Ooh.
So good. That's a good answer.
That's a good
And
answer.
what was the last one?
Something you can't live without.
Something I can't live without. The air, baby.
So true.
Yeah.
That's a good, I mean, literally true. Literally true.
I love that. All right. We did an icebreaker question last week, which was, which Starbucks drink do you identify with today? So everyone listening, if you haven't told us yet, go drop that in our episode 1 post. But for this episode, we have a new icebreaker question. So our icebreaker question for today is, if you could see any movie again for the first time, what would it be?
I love this question.
That's such a good question.
Heidi, what are your thoughts?
You know, as much as I hate to say this, I would love to watch Avengers Endgame again for the first time.
Oh, yeah. That's a
I
good
hate
one.
that, but also at the same time, like, just I've never felt that emotion for anything else in my life.
No, that's a good
Yeah.
answer.
Absolutely.
Also because like I feel like there's so many like key moments in so many like universes and like plot lines in that movie that like it's a good one to experience for the first time again.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Good
Heidi,
answer.
did you see it in theaters?
No, I actually only started watching all the Marvel movies this year, and I got
Me
through them.
too.
You too, really?
Yeah, I started watching them in like January.
I'm so hooked now. It's
Uh-huh.
ridiculous.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
so good.
Have you seen the TV shows as well? Are you all caught up?
Yeah, I just actually finished watching the last What If episode with Dean before I came up here.
I haven't finished the What If episodes, but Emma and I talked about WandaVision on the last episode. So
We did.
I
also-
love WandaVision.
WandaVision is so good. I could talk about it forever. I
It's
could talk about it for
great.
so long.
It's so good.
But anyways, cool. So part of the reason that we wanted to have Heidi on the podcast is because we've worked with Heidi on lots of different projects in a lot of mutual communities and groups, and also in multiple roles theatrically. So I'll let you talk a little bit about this, Heidi, but Heidi's currently assistant directing for a company called Theater Kapow, which is based in the southern New Hampshire area. And they have a show coming up called The Boy. And Heidi, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that experience assistant directing has been like. So why don't you just tell us about the show?
Okay, so The Boy, it's an original piece by playwright A.J. Diddy. I believe this is his first piece that is on stage. And it's based off of Peer Gynt and also From Day to Day. And the person who wrote From Day to Day, actually, their name gets reused in the show. So if you know who that playwright is, hint, hint, they'll be on the show. And it basically takes place in Norway in Nazi Germany times. You see the characters in a barrack that is shared and very cramped and filled with a lot of negative energy. And you just kind of their transition throughout their time in the barrack and the people that they get to meet along the way. And yeah, it's a very beautiful story. I'm extremely impressed by the work that was written, and especially where AJ is typically in the room for rehearsals, just sitting next to him, and he's super personable and friendly, and you know, he's just throwing out line changes as we're going through it. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's actually a really good segue into our first question was, we know you've also worked with the same group in the same similar assistant director position before. And so I was curious if you've had thoughts about the differences between working creatively on a previously published piece and something original. So if you have thoughts about that, like what it's like to work on it, like such a new piece versus something that's been published and done before, I'd love to hear what that's been like.
I think it leaves, like, to have a new piece to be working on, it leaves it so open-ended, because it's like, I can't just look up and see what's been done before. You know what I mean? Like, having that immediate thrill of, we can literally do anything with this. It's so different than, I mean, I guess it's not that different from having just like a piece that's been used in other like performances before, but it's just that aspect of getting to explore it is really remarkable.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's like, even though the words are already on the page, like there's such a creative liberty that can be taken in such a collaborative way. And I know I have kind of been on the sidelines of this piece for a while now. The people producing it in question are my parents. Spoiler alert. Fun fact. And they've been working on this piece for a really long time. And I read for one of the roles originally, and it's been really cool to see the piece evolve. And it's been the company's done a lot of devised work in the past. But this is one of their first more traditional words on the page type original plays, if you will. And watching from the outskirts, it's so exciting to see such a dynamic group of people literally building something from the ground up over so much time, and like literally from the ground up. If you go to Theater Kapow's Instagram and look at the set, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's nuts. So it's really cool. Yeah. And then another question that we had for you was, we've all had experiences like this, I think. I'll speak from the I know I've had experiences with this, but I'm curious if you've had any experiences or like any feelings about being one of the youngest people working in the room, and what it's like to be like a young professional working amongst so many people of, literally just older than you, but also maybe with more professional experience, what that has been like.
Yeah, I think that's something that it was definitely a stressor for me for the longest time, because I mean, like, even going out like throughout school, I was always the youngest person in my class, so it was always kind of like, oh, I got that little chip on my shoulder. But I think since graduating and since working furthermore with like Theater Kapow, going out in AmeriCorps and working with people who are in their 30s, things like that has really kind of boosted me up, because at the end of the day, like, if I go in and say I'm 19, then people are going to immediately like think like, oh, well, whatever. But if I go in and just be like, hi, I'm Heidi, do my job, then they're like, wow, that's incredible. Later on, they find out I'm 19 and they're like, that's insane, So I try to keep age out of it as much as possible until it's brought up, because I know that it immediately puts that stereotype on you, when realistically it kind of has nothing to do with what you're capable of professionally.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a good thought, because I feel like, I've definitely worked as a young professional, quote unquote, I suppose. And I find, this is a big conversation, and there's like a lot here, particularly as a young woman, as a young female presenting body in the arts. I find that I'm constantly breaking people's expectations, and then it's like, wait, why did you expect less?
Yeah,
I think it's a good point. Like, why even bring it into the picture? It's not necessary at all to even like introduce yourself in that way. Not to say age is just a number, but but it's true, I guess, in some cases. So yeah, cool. I think we only have one other question.
Okay.
Word. We have one final question. The question is, we know a lot about your background, your experience, and so we were curious about how your acting training or your experience in performance has influenced your director brain, like how it's kind of built this interest in you, and also like if it's helped you build any skill sets or given you a perspective to that side of the work at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think majority of my work has been acting, because directing came a lot later on. I did a lot of youth theater. But I do feel like as both an actor and a director, being in both positions, I have seen so much perspective that I didn't see from the other side. And a lot of things that I, as an actor, didn't enjoy in other directors, I knew that I could put forward as a director, but other things that I see as a director, I'm like, wow, I never caught that in myself as an actor. And now I can go back and fix that. And it's, it really helped out, I feel like, a lot of my confidence in my skill as an actor too, because it was, at the end of the day, I was seeing the kids who would do what I would do, which is just kind of be nervous and, half-ass on stage. But then, you see the kids who are going out there, and I always thought I would be scared to do that. But now it's just so much fun to do that, because you see just the huge difference from that. Yeah, I think there's definitely a good role to play in everything with that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like growing beyond acting, and exploring other facets of theater and roles has totally changed the way that I perform in ways that I never expected. It's just it's a perspective you gain, that it's hard to describe, but that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So I was interested to hear what you had to say about that. Cool. All right. Well, that's a bit about Heidi. Heidi, when's the Boy? Tell us how we can get tickets.
So if you go online to tkapow.com, you can find where to get tickets for the Boy. It's going to be playing for 2 weekends. So first weekend is in Derry at the Stockbridge Theater, which will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 24th, 25th, and 26th of September. Friday and Saturday at 7:30. Sunday is a matinee at 2. And then the next weekend, it's in Charleston, Mass. at the Charleston Working Theater. And then that'll be Friday and Saturday of that weekend, 7:30 on Friday and Saturday. And there's also a matinee at 2 on Saturday. Yeah, and that's where you can get tickets.
Perfect.
Definitely go check out the Boy.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So exciting.
Go support local theater.
Yeah.
Local theater.
All right, everyone. We are not done with Heidi just yet. We have decided that for our main segment for this episode, we are going to do an original work reading written by our very own Miss Emma Cahoon.
Guys, I'm so nervous.
No, okay, Emma,
nervous.
let us know a little bit about your play. Also, is this the first play you've written you've heard aloud read by other people?
Yes, it is.
That's so exciting.
Outside of writing for class, this is the first time that I'm letting my personal writing be heard and read and seen by other people, which is really exciting, but it's something that really scares me. So I just need to do it, because once it's done, then I can do it. And I think sharing writing will always be a vulnerable thing for me. For some reason, it's just I think I have a harsh inner critic, so frequently something sits on the page and never leaves it, or I start it and it just doesn't go any farther than a few lines, because I tend to shut myself down. But I'm really trying to work on empowering my own voice, and also not worrying if things are good or bad, because that's subjective, and
exactly.
Who gives a shit? And also some people are going to think that this is terrible, and some people are going to think that it's great, and I like it. It feels neither good nor bad to me, but honest. So let's just read it.
Sure.
Should I introduce it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, word. So this scene is called Dripping. I'll talk a little bit more later about
the process,
the origin, But I will be reading stage directions. Heidi, no, wait, who's reading for who?
I'm reading for Jess.
Okay, word. Heidi will be reading for Jess, and Sam will be reading for Lila. I'm going to skip this opening note and we can talk about it later. So I'm just going to go to the first stage direction. Jess and Lila sit in a parked car by a lake just past sunset. Twilight, perhaps. Dusk. They eat ice cream. Throughout the scene, their sentences are broken up by licking their ice cream cones.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him since then.
Wow.
So like 5 days or so?
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's felt like forever. It's felt like a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it's crazy how much of a difference not having him in my life for even just 5 days has been.
Yeah, seriously. Goes to show.
Yeah, it really does. I haven't even really thought about it a lot.
That's good.
Like, I thought it would be some huge thing that would be dragged out and so much more dramatic, but it hasn't been at all, which is a good thing. I think I just always assume the worst, I guess.
Yeah.
I just told him I was leaving and that was it.
Wow. I kind of thought it would be more than that too.
Yeah, I mean, I could have said more. Like, I could have said, "You're terrible and you treat me terribly," and just really hashed it out. But I guess I felt like it wasn't the moment to.
Right, like you made your peace.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And I mean, maybe I will wish at some point that I did do that when I had the chance to, but I guess it just didn't feel worth it.
I mean, I think it would still be valid, like if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I know it would be. I think it's just like, I don't know. I think it's just not.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I just didn't want it to be a big deal. Like, I didn't want it to be messy.
Yeah.
But it would be satisfying to like speak my truth, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't want to make myself sound like the crazy one, but like, I want him to feel guilty. like I don't usually wish pain or guilt on people, but
Men.
yes, men, like honestly, I hope that the men who have hurt me are at least self-aware enough to feel guilty.
Right.
Like, yeah, I hope not having me in your life anymore sucks as bad as it did for me to have you in mine at all.
Yes.
But then again, it's like, how will they ever be aware if I don't take that moment to call them out when I have the chance?
Right.
It's the cycle, like, I'm like, ugh. Why do men get away with everything? Like, why does no one ever hold them accountable? But then like, I have the chance to hold them accountable and I just don't do it.
Oh, men.
The cycle. It makes me so angry.
Me too.
But it does feel good to just be able to say that I'm angry and not make excuses for him anymore. Not try to convince myself to not be angry or tell myself I have to be nice.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time pushing down the angry, Like, I'm fine with people seeing me cry because I'm sad or because I'm scared, but I never let myself be angry.
Right.
I said to my therapist the other day, I was like, Laura, I think I'm just a really angry person because I don't know how to just let myself be angry. And I don't know how to be okay with letting others know that I'm angry. I don't know how to process anger, but then it sort of just like goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't ever really go away. It's more like it just bottles up, I guess. But then it just turns into nothing. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, you know, when you have to pee really bad, but then you hold it in for long enough that you forget that you had to pee, so you don't really have to pee anymore.
Yes, but that's a one-way ticket to a UTI.
I guess it's hard for me to like put to words because like sometimes when I start to get really angry, instead of actually really feeling those feelings, feeling them like authentically, I feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just complete radio silence. Hours could pass and it would feel like seconds because I am experiencing absolutely nothing. Not even time. It's like my mind is just a vast fucking unending fucking void. The world around me is just a fucking void. My train of thought slows to a stop. Everything around me is completely still. Like I am aimlessly walking down the street, and in hours, I'll have only lifted my foot, not even taken a step. And sometimes, yes, I come out of it and check the time and realize I'm in a completely different place than where I started. But then it zooms back in on just my feet, moving so slowly that they're actually barely moving at all, and then nothingness takes over again. And I can't decide if I like this nothingness. I mean, maybe the nothingness is better than the agony of feeling everything I feel every day. Like, maybe every single day with this radio silence happening in my mind, like every place I go is just somewhere I aimlessly wandered into. But then it would be like, what's even the point if I don't feel anything? But then it's like, is the point of life to feel pain? Is the point of life to feel? What's the point? Is it nothingness? And then it's like saying I feel nothingness isn't even exactly putting it right, because I'm actually not feeling nothingness. It's just nothingness. There's no verb like feeling or thinking, because genuinely nothing is happening. Maybe nothingness is not, maybe it's not the point. Because when I come out of it, I see the color in the world again. Even if that color is so bright, it burns my eyes and hurts to look into, at least I'm seeing color, right? Color is so profound. Anger is so profound. But when I start to think about profound things, I fall right back into nothingness.
A beat. Silence. Not nothingness. Then the sound of licking ice cream cones.
You're dripping.
What?
The cone, it's dripping.
Blackout? The end?
Yeah.
Camera cut? I don't know. I don't know. Scene over. Period.
You just heard your first scene out loud, Queen.
I did. That was weird.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Initial thoughts. What are you thinking right now?
I want to hear anybody's thoughts.
Oh, anybody's
feel-
initial thoughts?
Like, I just learned a lot. I just want to hear anybody's thoughts first.
I am obsessed with that final monologue, Em.
Word.
I genuinely I don't know where out of your brain that came from, but I love it so much. I think it's really interesting because I feel like almost everyone has had a conversation like this where from Jess's point of view, you're kind of just like talking and talking and talking, and that other person's just like there, kind of like a diary, but in a person. Like they're just kind of there so that you know that someone's actually listening to you. And I think having those kind of conversations with people, I don't know about everyone else, but like I've said things in those kind of conversations that I've never said to anyone else ever. Just because there's something that feels so safe about just one-on-one, like those kind of like late night conversations where you're just talking and talking and talking. The other person's not trying to talk you out of any of it. They're just listening.
Yeah.
So I can't really believe you put that onto a page. Like, I don't know how you captured that.
I don't know either. Yeah. Yeah. No, go.
I feel like when I first read it and even reading it now, it was, for me personally, like reading through it and going through it for the first time, both characters, I mean, really are very relatable because, I mean, going off of what Sam said, like, I feel like we've all had the experience of being in those conversations. And I think I've definitely, at least myself, have had the experience of being on both ends of the listener and the talker. But hearing what, Jess was saying and feeling that, I feel like it was a very easy thing for me to feel, which I don't know what that says about me, but I think everything kind of came very naturally as I read it, and it just flowed very smoothly. And I think like it just has that good, like, okay, we're starting off, we're just eating ice cream, and then all of a sudden I'm just in this huge monologue that's so like deep and into it, and then Lila's just like, hey, guys,
you're dripping ice cream all over my car.
Literally.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I am like learning so much. My mind is like reeling a little bit right now. But before I get into it too much, I guess I can talk about a little bit, I suppose, the way that I wrote this.
Sure.
So the final monologue, I wrote about a year ago. And it's just been sitting, like I wrote it in a note in my phone in like the middle of the night. And then I sat on it for a while. And there was a class that we had last year that the freshmen in the BU School of Theater, all of them do, called Locals, which is basically like just an open performance like place where you can share whatever you're working on. And pretty much every Locals, which was every Monday, evening, both semesters. So like we had so many Locals. Pretty much every time I like would open the note on my phone and just look at it and then not read it. And I don't know why, but like I would look at it and I like would look at the words and be like, this is me right now. Like this is so true, and this is like a piece of work that I have been sitting on for so long, and I feel like is my writing voice, but I never did it. And I I guess I kind of regretted it, but all of that time that I sat on it, kind of these slow changes were made to it. And then everything else before it and after it was just to give context to it. So like the dialogue around it came like just a couple weeks ago. I wrote the dialogue around it after like sitting on the monologue for so long and like editing it and tweaking it. I filled it in, and it is, you know, like based on a very real interaction, very real, like just relationships, multiple, in my life. But the crux of it was that monologue, and then everything else was like filled in around it. But also like as I guess this kind of like leads us to a broader conversation, I suppose, about like writing. But like we were talking about earlier, the like experience of moving from like a performance background into like trying other things, so like directing or writing. I had in one of my acting classes last year, one of our instructions was to have like an action, like an item that we could engage with as we did our scene. So like it was a scene that was already written for us. We were doing a scene study, but we had to like have something that we were like doing as we did it. And I like apparently that came with me into my writing, because there's like objects frequently at the center of kind of like the action of my piece. So in this, it happens to be ice cream. Also just because I think it's funny, and like I would love to like hear this with ice cream, like to see it also, because like the sound of like so funny. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just learned a lot like listening to it, rather than just looking at it on the page.
Is there anything right off the bat that you think that you would want to change about it, or anything off the bat that you stood out to you that you were like, oh, I'm really proud of that specific section?
I really laughed at I said to my therapist the other day, I was like, Laura. That made me laugh. I don't know why. I've never had a therapist named Laura, but it made me laugh. Right off the bat, I feel like I want to play more with the character of Lila, because it is kind of a I was thinking about it as I was writing it, and I was like, because she's kind of serving as that listener. Sure. And I think like perhaps if you are seeing it on stage, you know, there's a lot that we see in bodies that we don't hear in words. There's a lot of character that can be built even with so few text, so few lines, even just in the physical relationship between the two bodies, which, you know, you don't get just from reading it. So there's that, but I feel like there's more to be done there, because this is a very stream of consciousness moment for Jess, and I think it's interesting to think about building more of a character there for Lila, because it is so like conversational, and like I hear in my head the voices of like specific people who I have had like basically this conversation with, and like the way that they like interject into these stream of consciousness moments. But again, I think that it's important that like this is not a moment where advice is being given. Like there's no this is not like I'm searching for a solution to this, or like I feel like in life people are always giving me their 2 cents and always putting in their input, and I admire a friend like Lila who can just listen. So as much as I'm like, she doesn't really have a lot, she's not really a fully formed character. And there is more character building to be done there, but I guess my impulse is, or what I know, what is familiar to me is somebody who would try to solve or try to like suggest or like give their input.
Yeah.
But that's not what this moment is. That's not who this person is. So there's more
And
to be there's more to be done there. But
I think there's always an opportunity if you were to expand this specific scene to be part of a larger work, to have other moments to expand on Lila and who Lila is and that kind of stuff. But it is at the end of the day like most important that like it feels authentic to you. And I very much agree. Like it's obvious that Jess has gone through some serious stuff. And I think it's so amazing that Lila is the friend that's just like there without trying to. I feel like a lot of times in these situations, people try to relate to stuff that they've been through, which has a time and a place. I think people interject with stories that they feel are similar or like, oh yeah, this thing happened to me once. And I don't think that's what Jess needs in this moment. So I definitely think there could be like, I hope you make this into a larger work because it's a very intriguing scene. And I think that's where you could add in Lila so that you don't have to compromise your vision for the scene. But thank you so much for sharing with us, Emma. I hope you're very proud of yourself because it's no, but seriously, it's really tough to like share work with other people.
It's terrifying.
It's different to get up and act to
it's so different.
Something that someone wrote and then to actually be like, this is a part of my heart and my brain. Here you go. It's so
crazy.
Scary. It's so scary.
Yeah, like the power that we give like voice and language is so insane. Like it's crazy. I can stand up in front of anybody and like speak words and like my body, like and put my body on stage for so many people, which not a lot of people can do. Like that's a terrifying thing.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't scare me nearly as much as like words coming from my head into somebody else's brain. Like that
absolutely
is so scary, which is crazy. But that's why I'm glad that we have PlayChat to be able to do this and provide that opportunity to not only us but to other people. And it is so cool to hear it in other voices too. So I thank you guys for reading it. It was so informative and great.
Honored to read your piece.
Thank you.
All right.
It's been fun.
Do we have anything left to? Oh, Heidi, we have one last question for you. Okay. So for all of you PlayChat fans out there, Emma and I have decided that for each season of PlayChat, we are going to have a Spotify playlist. So we're going to add one song for each episode that kind of relates to what we were talking about. So for the first episode, when we talked about our favorite album openers, we added Brutal by Olivia Rodrigo because we agreed that was one of our favorites. So Heidi, as our guest today, what song should we add to our playlist? It can be your favorite song. It can be a song that you're just really liking right now. Just a song suggestion for our PlayChat playlist.
I'm gonna have to go with, one of my old coworkers once told me that this song reminded them of me. So
sure.
Yes,
I'm gonna go with Man Eater by Hall & Oates.
That's a great song.
Okay.
I gotta throw in the dad rock band.
Also Man-Eater, Dripping, the men. Oh man.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Oh,
I
perfect.
Just put the Man-Eater.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, Heidi. You are officially included in our PlayChat
podcast,
and then also in our PlayChat album, our Spotify playlist. Yay! Thank you guys.
This has been such a joy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your boy project with us and also being a part of our original work this week. We are so glad we were able to have you. So yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Heidi.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me again. It was great. Very honored to be your first guest.
Oh, we are so glad you were able to come on.
All right. this has been PlayChat episode 2.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed listening to what Heidi had to say, and
Absolutely.
let us go tell Emma how much you loved her piece in our comments. Hype her up about it, because it's scary to share your work, folks.
It is so scary.
So go let Emma know your thoughts. Don't forget to say happy birthday to Heidi, because today, September 27th, is Heidi's 20th birthday. So go say happy birthday to Heidi.
And also, go check out The Boig.
Yes, go check out The Boig.
Adaptation based on the story of Per Krogh, an artist. It's a beautiful, beautiful play. Again, it'll be in Boston the weekend after you're hearing this, October 1st and 2nd, possibly streaming TBD, but go check out Theater Kapow's website for more information on that.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to keep an eye out for those polls so you can vote on our segments for next week or the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks, which also means that you need to follow us on social media. So go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter at PlayChatPod. And while you're there, maybe check out our Patreon.
Yeah.
I don't know, just a thought.
Episode 3 will be coming your way on October 11th, and we will see you all then. Bye, everyone. PlayChat Podcast is written and hosted by Emma Cahoon and Sam Griffin. It is edited by Christine Kattar and produced by Sydney Stager. Our theme song is written by Michael Overko.